This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And this is your host, DJ Python Hyena, real name Greg Gilbert. And I have a wonderful guest on the phone with me today, and we'll hear her never-ending story. I got an Empress on the phone. I feel special today. I have Tami Stronach on the phone. She played the little princess Empress in the never-ending story. Hi, Tami.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful. It's an honor to have you. And you know what? I just saw the never-ending story for the first time about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
it had been 30 years?
Yeah, well, it was playing at the mall for the family favorites, and I was like, I review movies, and I've been doing so since 1996, and I thought, good, an older film playing. I always try to catch those, and I was like, I recognize this film, but I've never seen it, so I went there, and now that I've been podcasting since April of last year, I'm always searching for faces to engage with and try to connect with, and I saw you there at the end of the film, and I was like, gotta get her on.
How did it hold up after so many years?
It held up well. You get a favorable review from me.
Sorry, I'm in the busy New York City streets, and there's an ambulance right next to me. I apologize. There we go.
Yeah. Well, you know what I first discovered when I looked you up? This'll be interesting, and I really don't want to give your age out, but I'm going to tell you this. I was born July 8th, 1972.
Oh, wow. So we're the same age.
We're the same age. You caught me on the same month, but at the tail end. Yeah, and I didn't have to go through as much trouble as the hero of the film did. He had to, go through the swamp of sadness, and he lost a horse doing that, and he had to do all these things to get in touch with you. And I was like, man, he'd hate me if he saw just how easy it was for me to do it.
Yeah. Well, the Empress is a little more elusive than myself. I am, in fact, a mom, a professor, a dancer. Very, very easy to reach, actually.
You mean to tell me I'm not allowed to give you a new name like he did?
You can. I'd be curious. I mean, actually, what I love is because the name is so muffled in the Neverending Story, everyone sort of makes up their own name. And I frequently get asked, what name does Bastian actually call out? Because it's very hard to discern. And if you read the book, the name that Michael Ende made, asked Bastian to name her. But in the film, I feel like most people kind of don't really hear it, and there's sort of opportunity to kind of imagine your own name.
Well, today you're just going to be my guest.
Great. You're not going to call me names?
I won't call you a name. Although I have to say,
good.
if I was to call you a name, I'd say you were striking. You were beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. You turned into a very beautiful woman. And you're not the first dancer I've had on here, too. I had Adrienne King on here last year from Friday the 13th, and she was one of the background dancers in Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, and I had Antonia Franceschi on here last year for the 35th anniversary of Fame, and I discovered she was a backup dancer in Greece.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fame is another one of those kind of iconic 80s movies that everybody grew up on.
Oh, I love that film, and I was so happy to get in touch with her because she actually has a speaking part in Fame, whereas she didn't in Grease. But it didn't take me long to figure out who she was because there was only one, in my opinion, one attractive dancer in Fame. So, but looking at your background, like you grew up with, you got Israeli and Scottish parents, and
I do.
yeah, I noticed you're from. It says you're from Dahan, Iran. And I hate to make a joke, but like that's isn't that where the Iron Sheik is from?
Well, Tehran, the capital of Iran, is where I was born because both my parents were working there as archaeologists. They were really interested in sort of the Zoroastrian history in Iran, and so while seemingly they had very, very different backgrounds, her being Israeli and him being Scottish, they both had this sort of deep love of history and archaeology, and they met in this at the time, very Iran was a very multicultural city, and a lot of people were traveling there. It was very vibrant, and so that's where they were working.
Wow, yeah. So you weren't next door neighbors with the Iron Sheik, huh?
No, no, I lived in the British Institute.
You know who the Iron Sheik is. I'm trying to joke with you here.
Who is the Iron Sheik?
He was the first guy that Hulk Hogan got the belt off of.
Oh, in the wrestling matches.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although
No.
the Iron Sheik has become famous in recent year for being his outbursts on the Howard Stern show. So yeah.
No, I'm so sorry. I missed that cultural reference. But yes, he was. We weren't hanging out in Tehran.
Yeah, you would have wanted out of there quick, probably. Yeah. But yeah, I was reading up on your background. I guess your parents didn't want you to pursue acting, and I can kind of see their point about what child stars go through, and it's a pretty nasty business. But you did carve out a nice performance in The Never-Ending Story, and have done very well in dancing. So I guess you've kept yourself a level head.
Well, I think that, even though I didn't continue working in film, and as you say, the whole family, myself included, we were all sort of concerned about how well we would be able to navigate the Hollywood machine for adolescents. It's a pretty complex pool to swim in, and I think if you have experience doing it, obviously, I have a lot of respect for child actors that made their way through it and pursued it and came out on the other side sort of in charge of their careers. But I think it really takes a very savvy person who really understands the game in a way. And we sort of all looked at each other, my parents being archaeologists, and they were just like, Tami, we're just not sure we are the right kind of stage parents for what you would need to do this in a way that would be nurturing and productive. And I was like, I sort of respected their opinion, so I went into dance. But I always said to myself, if I really miss acting, I can go back to it. And it made a lot of sense to pursue dance as a young person because that is such a time-sensitive art form. You really only have about 20 years where your body has the technique and the ability to recover and not get injured and perform under such demanding circumstances. And so the great thing is that now in my 40s, I was doing a bunch of acting on the side through a theater company called The Flying Machine in New York throughout my dance career, and it was a really wonderful, exciting physical theater company. And since the birth of my daughter, my husband, who's an actor, we sort of looked at each other and said, you know what, maybe now is the time to start doing some acting again, partly because our daughter is somebody who we want to tell really good stories to and create theater works that we feel we want to share with her and with her friends. And so we formed this new theater company called Paper Canoe Company, and we've made 3 shows this year. One was called Light, which is a sci-fi adventure.
Okay.
And one is a sock puppet show that ran for many, many months in Williamsburg and has been just a blast to do with kids. I get videos from moms everywhere of their kids singing the songs from the show. And then we just we're releasing a CD in September, and we just performed it in New York City at Skytown on the Oval for family audiences. So in many ways, it's an exciting time because I feel like I'm returning to family theater, but from a really, really different perspective, from the perspective of a mom, and what kind of stories do I want my daughter and my daughter's friends, and really anyone's children who are interested to be exposed to.
So do you have a sock puppet that looks like a luck dragon?
That's a good idea. We didn't think of that, but that would be a pretty hilarious cameo.
Yeah, I didn't even have to have the luck dragon help me track you down.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I really loved your work as the Empress. Like I saw you in that. You were very captivating, very compelling. Your character was young but wise, and I was watching you in that film. I was like, I should look her up. I like to try to interview people that aren't necessarily A-list, but people that have done stuff that people would know about, because people like these. Like I've had you're my 37th interview I've done since April 2015, and I've gotten a great response because the people that I interview, they got their stories they want to tell, and there's people that are interested. So yeah.
Podcasting is, I think that what's so nice about the way that technology has changed is really there's much less distance between actors and people who are interested in their projects, and it really can turn much more into a conversation and an exchange, and that's also so much why I love doing live projects, is that I can talk to the audience afterwards and I can be in touch with them, and there's a kind of there's a way in which that distance, especially through things like podcasts, gets closer. And I think that's a really positive change in sort of the way in which we're consuming and engaging and interacting with the entertainment we all enjoy, and I enjoy to consume as well.
Yes. Well, how did you get the part for as the Empress?
That is a funny story. I was always dancing and acting since I was very little. It was definitely part of sort of in the blood, as they say. And I was in a theater school in San Francisco called Amata, and I was taking a musical theater class. My understanding is that they were having a hard time casting the role, and it was sort of dragging on. They were getting kind of frustrated. They weren't really finding the right person. And the casting agent was in San Francisco to do another round of casting. And she happened to come by my acting class because her friend was my acting teacher, and they had scheduled lunch. And she ended up coming a little bit early. And so she scooched in on the last 10 minutes of the class and saw me in the class and invited me to the audition. And I really had no idea what I was auditioning for. I thought it was going to be yet another sort of thing on the scale of what I'd been doing. I was doing plays that toured around schools. I was doing community theater. I was performing a lot, but obviously on a very sort of kind of small scale. So I just imagined it would be another project like that.
Yeah. And what was the experience like doing this film?
It was amazing. Flying to Germany was exciting, and the studios themselves were really just an exciting place for a kid to be, because it was before CGI. Everything was real. All the tents were filled with mud and dead trees, and the Swamps of Sadness was like a city block housed inside of a tent. It was crazy. I mean, you just walk into these tents and you felt like Alice in Wonderland. You'd gone down the rabbit hole. You just couldn't believe what people had created.
Yeah, and viewing it for the first time, like I grew up on films like that, like I just interviewed somebody. I was doing a tribute to Ray Harryhausen, and I interviewed somebody from his foundation celebrating the 35th anniversary of Clash of the Titans. And That was a film I grew up with and loved, and of course Star Wars and E.T. and Never Ending
Sure.
Story falls right in with them.
Yeah, well, it was a real surprise to me that it was going to, I mean, make this kind of an impression. Obviously, it was filmed in Germany at the Bavarian Studios, and it was done in conjunction with Warner Brothers, but um, partially because of where it was filmed, it was sort of tucked away in Europe. I really didn't understand or have any idea that it would impact so many people, and I feel just enormously lucky to have been a part of something that has this kind of sticking power in people's hearts. I feel really, really grateful.
Do you like working with Noah Hathaway?
Sure, yeah. I loved working with him, and I loved working with Barrett. They were really just great kids, and we all got along, and I really enjoyed working with Wolfgang. And he treated me like a professional and like an adult and not like a kid.
Oh, that's
And
great.
for the kind of kid that I was, that was just right. I took the whole thing very seriously, and I wanted the director to approach me the way he would approach any other actor.
Wow. Yeah, I understood Barrett because I was also bullied when I was in school, so I understood his dilemma quite fast. But I also related to the fact that he had this imagination, was able to get swept up. And like, I'm one of these people that still reads.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
I know that's a rare thing now. I had Stephen Lack from the movie Scanners on here celebrating the 35th anniversary of that film, and he says, "You radio people don't read, do you?" And I kind of surprised him when I said, "Yeah, I read."
Yeah, no, reading is such a wonderful thing to do, and such a particular way to enter someone else's mind. Um, but I feel like everyone, in some ways, feels a little bit like the outsider. Even popular kids, underneath the mask that they're wearing, frequently have to do a lot of work to retain their status and stay in the pecking order that is the drama of young, adolescence. And so I think many people gravitate and understand the story of the sort of underdog or the person that feels that they don't quite fit in. And that in many ways, that's a more universal feeling than we expect.
Wow. Yeah, and the special effects, of course, were phenomenal in the Never-Ending Story. Of course, everybody remembers the Luck Dragon, which was an interesting little creation, nice little sidekick for the hero.
Yeah, he looks like a Labrador.
Yeah, half Labrador, half dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had all these like locations. Of course, everything was being caught up in the villain, which was the Nothing, which was what I did all through high school. Nothing.
I mean, it's such a great villain, the Nothing. It's sort of funny. In some ways, it doesn't have a shape and it doesn't have a form, but it's almost more terrifying because of that.
I always viewed the Nothing as kind of symbolic, as if what life would be like if we didn't have an imagination.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
because
I also think it's even more political in that, in a way. I mean, so many of these sci-fi stories and fantasy stories that we write about, they give us the distance to contemplate the things that are happening in the real world in a way that isn't overwhelming. Because if you just pick up the news and read about all the horrible things that happen all the time, you kind of get numb and you don't know what to do about it. And sci-fi and fantasy translate those kinds of things and give them expression in a way that gives us the distance to be able to sort of take it in and maybe have more hope and more energy to fight it. So I don't know. For me, the Nothing is just all the ways in which when we lose our imagination, we sort of that's when our world starts to crumble and we dehumanize, and all these sort of terrible things that people do to one another start to take place, and that really protecting our imagination is protecting the child within us and the belief and the hope and the sort of naivete that we can really have the power to make a beautiful world.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is C.S. Lewis when he
Oh
made
yeah.
the Chronicles of Narnia. Now, I grew up in a Christian household, and I still believe in that. But I thought it was interesting with C.S. Lewis um, that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the rest of those books are all centered symbolically within his Christian faith, without beating people over the head with it. Like Aslan the lion was a symbol of Christ.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's all of these stories have their sort of a lot of different layers, and you can it's worth unpacking each author's life experience and what it means for them once they sort of worked out these symbols and these fantasy stories.
Yeah. So that was your big film. Do you have any other film projects that's coming up?
I do not have any other film projects coming up. I've since I launched Paper Canoe Company with my husband, the theater company, I have had some scripts coming in.
Okay.
And I'm really interested in a good story. I'm not necessarily interested in a big film or a blockbuster film, or I'm really interested in quality work. That's always been my passion and why I came to New York to work in dance and choreograph and live theater. But it's been really lovely returning to acting, and I am reading scripts. And if I come across the right one, I'll absolutely jump at the chance to do it.
And you love dancing, that seems to have been a good passion for you. You said you were in lots of plays that involved dancing. Was there any of them that were particularly difficult to do?
Plays that involve dancing?
Weren't you in plays that involved dancing, or did I misread that?
No. Yeah, I mean, the dancing that I did always involved some theatrical aspects, and so it was sort of called dance theater as the genre. There would be scenes that had some text or characters. I'm much more interested in narrative and storytelling, even within a dance medium, than highly abstract things, although definitely the movement vocabulary I use ventures into the abstract as well. But then I worked with a physical theater company, and I would frequently collaborate with them to come up with dance segments or movement segments. And that's really been my life's work, is to kind of see the ways in which dance and theater intersect, inform one another, support each other, and also differ from one another. It's been a very interesting and sort of fruitful investigation of my two loves, dance and theater.
What's your favorite musical, just out of curiosity?
My favorite musical would be West Side Story.
West Side Story.
Yeah.
I found the fighting dancing a little corny, but
No, I know, but I just love. I mean, it's Romeo and Juliet reimagined in the New York City streets, and the music is so wonderful. And I love that corny dancing.
oh, do you?
I do. I love Fred Astaire. I love Ginger Rogers. I love all those old Hollywood.
Gene
I just love all
Kelly.
those old Hollywood things. Yeah.
Yeah. Singing in the Rain, I found, was a
Singing in the
masterpiece.
Rain, totally fantastic. I mean, I even love Mary Poppins. I love all
Oh,
of it.
great film.
I have a large palette, and I guess I do have a little bit of a nostalgia for those old ones.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because there are certain actors that know how to dance that really bring that into a performance. Like I discovered when I interviewed Lisa Langlois that Neil Clifford, who was one of the gangsters in Class of 1984, the reason he moved the way he was because he was a professional dancer. And then there's Sandal Bergman, who was Valeria in Conan the Barbarian, and she was also a dancer, and just the way she moved really assisted her combat scenes.
For sure. I mean, the two art forms are really symbiotic, and it makes a lot of sense to connect them.
Yeah. So you're in New York. You're an hour behind me, and I was just wondering, do you know where I am?
I did not pull out my map and look at it before I called you.
No, you don't know where New Brunswick is?
Well, tell me, where is it? Yeah, tell me where it is.
We're probably right neighbors with Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Yeah, and New Brunswick has 3 cities, Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton. And it's interesting because I've only had a handful of guests come on here that actually know where we are. Are you familiar with the Trailer Park Boys?
Say that again?
Are you familiar with the Trailer Park Boys?
No.
Okay, they're the closest we got to celebrities here, and they're in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And you're the first person from New York I've encountered that didn't know who they were.
And so what do they do?
They are weed smokers that live in a trailer park. Ivan Reitman produced their first of 3 movies.
Okay.
But the TV show's been on for 11 seasons.
Got it.
Yeah, but they're very funny.
Well, I'll have to check them out. You'll have to give me a list of local things that I should learn about.
Yeah. Now, we're coming close to our time here, but I did have a question. Where can I go to get an autographed picture of you?
You can send me an email. My website has my contact information. I have an assistant called Alice Goldleaf, but I will absolutely do my very best to send an autograph back. You know, I am working full time. I'm a professor. I'm a mom. I run a dance company, and I run a theater company.
Plus, you're an Empress.
Plus, I'm an Empress. But I feel very grateful for the interest, and I read every letter I get. I have a P.O. box people can send things to.
Okay.
So if you just go to my website at www.tamistronach.com, I'm reachable that way, and I do my very best to send autographs out to people that request them. And I absolutely read all my mail and appreciate it. So.
You want me to just send you my address, or how do you want me to go about it? I can do that.
For you to do it, you can just I'll text you my personal email, and you can just send that to me.
Okay.
Your address, and I'll send it back.
Okay. Because for whatever reason, that self-addressed stamped envelope thing, for whatever reason, I can't send return postage when I send an envelope. Oh, I don't know why that changed here in Canada.
Oh, if people, it is really appreciated, because the photograph, if you just send a couple bucks in with the envelope, then I can just put the stamps on.
Well, when I had somebody recently do that, and I put extra on the money order so that because she charged me the photo, but it's only because she had to get it from the manager. So I added extra on the money order because I didn't want her to have to pay for the postage. So
that's really considerate.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to do that. And do you have any charities that you're involved in?
Oh, well, I am really interested in environmental issues, just personally. So I do donate a lot of money to particularly NRDC. I just feel like that's kind of the base, is how we take care of Mother Nature, and I do feel really passionate about that. And I frequently donate yoga classes and puppet show tickets and things for any kind of educational thing for children who want to see theater and can't see theater. I think it's super important to give access to everyone to experience and have the opportunity to connect and feel a part of something.
Wow. Yeah, I started to connect a little bit on charities as well. I started working on one this year after the death of Robin Williams.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, remember the Ice Bucket Challenge last year?
This is part of the Robin Williams charity?
Yeah. Remember a few years ago they had the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Uh-huh.
Well, they started one when Robin Williams committed suicide,
Yeah,
and
tragic.
yeah, and they opened up one of those challenge charities involving suicide and depression, because depression is often so overlooked.
Definitely.
And I guess the challenge involves taking a pie in the face and
Uh-oh.
nominating 3 people. And I sent one of those videos out to the people I interviewed, and I had Lisa Langlois accepted the challenge, and she got over 500 views on YouTube within a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you asking me if I would take a pie in the face?
Sure.
Well, send me more information about it. Where does the money go? I want to learn more about it. I mean, I absolutely, I think the whole focus of what we've talked about today is using the power of imagination to make the world better. And obviously that shouldn't just be on screen. That should be in daily life, and art and life should bleed together. So.
Well, when I did my video, I got like 70 views in a month, but I'm not in the industry.
Right.
Lisa's got over 500 within a week, and she's not even an A-list actress, so she got a lot of attention for it. I came into this because people want to see people in the industry do it, so I wanted to get the industry involved the way they did with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Because, yeah.
Well, when we go off the podcast, give me a little bit more information about it.
I can do that. And I got a couple more questions quick. Number one, this is going to podcast out on the air in a few weeks. I've still got a couple of interview guests I got to play out on my Sunday nights. So it will probably be towards the end of July, maybe early August when this plays out on the air. But when it does, I will send you a link to this interview, and you can post this wherever you want to.
Great, thank you.
But towards the end of the year, like I'm putting one interview a week on my YouTube site. And right now I've got 9 out of my 37 on there, and yours will go on at the very end of the year, actually. And what I wanted your permission on is that I put the audio on there, but I like to have pictures that go along with it. And I wanted to know if it's okay with you if I use some headshots of you to go along with it.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And my final thing that I'll ask you is, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Okay, what do I have to say?
Just introduce yourself. Introduce yourself and even call yourself the Empress if you want to. And just say you're listening to Greg Gilbert in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Okay, this is the Empress, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert in, where are we going? Frederick?
Fredericton, New Brunswick.
I'm like, Fredericton. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. You'd think the Empress would know this.
No. Okay. This is the Empress, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Canada. There we are. You know what, Tami? It was a thrill and an honor to talk to you. I'm glad that I went and watched The Never-Ending Story, and I'm glad I discovered you and looked you up, and I'm glad that you were willing to connect with me today, you know, and I hope
My pleasure. Thanks for looking me up, and best of luck with all your podcasts.
Yes. Well, I'm going to keep you online here. I'm just going to pause this out. I'm just going to close out, and then I'll give you a little more information on that charity. Did you want me to do that?
Yes. Are we paused out of the podcast?
Not yet. I'm just going to close out now, but I'll keep you on the air. Not live air, but the air.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Sure.
Great.
Just hold on for a second, okay? Well, folks, that was the lovely and beautiful and talented dancer, actress, Empress, Tami Stronach. And honored to have her on there. For any of you that are fans of The Never-Ending Story, go check that movie out. Relive the memories, The Luck Dragon, and, of course, The Empress. And check out her webpage and see what else she's up to, and check out some of her dance videos on YouTube. This is Python signing out and wishing you a great day, a never-ending story day.